Okay guys, this is my track guide for Hockenheim with the GTP. So the format of this video is going to be, I'm going to do a guided lap, then I'm going to do an uninterrupted hot lap, and then I'm going to do some telemetry analysis with you guys, because I think that'll be more useful than just doing the track guide and just being like, yeah, brake about here, brake about there. So, and then I'll also link this telemetry, this that 122.582 in the description below for Garage 61, so then you can analyze the telemetry against yourself as well and see where you're losing time or gaining time or whatever. So let's get right into it. So we're coming off the first corner, and this corner should vary your lap. So you have lap 1, your out lap, which is when you come out the pits, right? Then you have lap 1, and then you have lap 2. Lap 2 will always be faster because your tyres will be a lot warmer. So the strategy for qualifying, this is for prototype fix, by the way, fix setup, but I'm using the quali fix setup, and you should use that for qualifying, by the way. Do not use the fix practice one because you'll lose so much time. But anyway, so the first lap that you'll do is you'll brake a bit more than you need to on this, especially on this high speed corner. But on the second lap, it'll be barely a brake. But let's just show you. This is so we can assume this is your second lap. So braking marker for this corner is about the 50 board, and it's just a quick little dab of brakes. And whilst we're hitting the brakes, we hold it for like a split second, and whilst we do that, we turn the wheel. So it's just like a little bit to get rotation under the brakes. So let's look at that again, and then I'll go through track limits. Okay, so track limits for this corner, first the T1. I don't know the names for these corners, sorry. It's about, so as long as you have two wheels on this little strip of curb, you should be within track limits. It's quite easy to get an off track here, but from what I can tell, you can't really get slow down unless you were to take the mick out of it and just go completely off. So I'd say in a race, if you mess up this corner, just take the 1x and call it a day. But in qualifying, make sure you do not get a 1x, because otherwise that means that lap's invalidated, and it is infuriating to say the least. It's very easy to do on this corner, so you just need to keep practicing, keep testing it, brake less, brake more, brake lighter and earlier, all that sort of stuff. Use less wheel rotation, use more wheel rotation, see what works best. Okay, for turn 2, this one's interesting. On this lap, I lost a tenth. I know I said I'd do telemetry analysis, but it's worth showing you, to be honest, because I want to show you an ideal lap, like an ideal sort of second T1. So we can see here that my lap, the red one, I gained 1/10 of a second, or lost 1/10 on the well, I don't know, gained or lost, better lap time basically. That's what I'm trying to say. So on lap 2 we gained 0.11 seconds, the blue lap. And the reason why is if we go over here and follow my mouse, you can look at the brake. So on the blue lap, we broke earlier, and on the red lap, we broke later. And look at the speed difference. We can brake later here than I did in the lap that I'm about to show you. So just bear that in mind, and you'll gain about a tenth of a second. I didn't even gain any exit speed, because if we go to sector 2, it's identical all the way pretty much. So we didn't really gain any exit speed. So brake a teeny bit later than what I'm about to show you. And we should aim basically for the start of the sausage curb. Don't hit it, but just make sure that you hit the apex right there. That's where the apex is. And we take this in second. And we don't want to run the car too much all the way out, because otherwise the next corner you'll lose exit speed, because you'll be winding on more steering lock. You can see that I hit it, which probably lost me some exit speed, to be honest. I could have got a better exit speed if I didn't hit that curb, which maybe explain why I got the same speed throughout the straight afterwards. Okay, we're going to skip this, but track limits here, they're pretty much non-existent, but you don't even want to, you can touch this little gravel patch, but on the grass it's track limits, but you don't really want to touch that anyway, because you'll get slowed down, and it probably means that you didn't take the last corner right. Let's just skip through this. Just cut as much as possible. You can get the wheels and the curb here. Just cut as much time as possible. You don't want to be all the way out and wide for obvious reasons. Okay, so for the hairpin, It might be called that. I might be right for this one. We brake straight when we hit this curb. As soon as we hit the curb, brake. With the carb, what's interesting is that you can hit 100% brakes for a little bit of time before you have to go to 80 and 60, and then you start the trail brake. I'm just saying rough values, but it's you hit 100%. Then once you slow down enough, you leave the brake at 80 for a little bit, and then once you start turning in, you obviously release the pressure to trail brake. We trail brake right round this apex and right round this corner. You'll see I'll slow it down. I can't slow it down, but I will replay it. So brake at this curb, slow it down into first. There's a turn, and see it goes off my screen, but obviously you're a different FOV, most likely. So you might have this still on your screen, but you can see it's sort of it's not an early turn-in, it's a little bit later. I'd say it's pretty neutral. And because we're going so slow as well, especially with this Acura, if you're using the Acura, this is very applicable to you. You have turbos, so which means that it's pretty dead in the lower rev ranges, and because the first gear goes it's a really high speed gear, it goes like 100 km/h, maybe a bit less, I don't know. And so the engines are gonna be bogged down at this point in the turn. So then we get on the power really early before we even sort of in the mid corner almost. It's near it's like early exit. And track limits here, they're not really existent, to be honest. I mean, you can have your wheel on this yellow sausage curb, but it just slows you down too much in my opinion, so I wouldn't use it. And sometimes when you use this curb as well, you can get some wheel spin, then again you lose exit speed, blah 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 blah. So just get on the power early here, control that initial, because it's going to have nothing, and then it's just going to spike like that in terms of power. So make sure that your wheel's straight once you're in that very powerful, in the torquey area of the power band. So let me replay that. Boom. Cut as much as possible, that's flat out. Okay, so for this corner we brake just before we reach this little entry path here. And we shift down to second, and this corner is pretty interesting because we don't want to run it all the way out wide once we exit this corner, because we have that right-hander that we have to prepare for, and it's very little time to do so. So we run it out till about the middle of the road. Hit that apex, hit it, don't be scared of it. You know, try and really get the car over to the left. So we exit on the middle of the road, and for the next corner we sort of interchange between 100% and about 90%. It's just a little bit of lift. You should feel it through the wheel. You'll have understeer, and you might have a bit of oversteer here. It's quite easy to spin out, especially when you're on cold tyres. When you're on cold tyres at the start of the race, just be a bit more cautious. You'll see a lot of people spinning out on cold tyres, ramming into each other, because the car, there was a new tyre update, the car is just very, it's like it's like on ice. The car's it likes to move about a lot on cold tyres. It's a little bit like LMU. LMU's a bit more extreme than this, so I've got my practice in. So we can see that we're interchanging the 90% and 100% throttle. There's no braking. And for the track limits here, we don't want to touch this red sausage curb. That's all you need to know. Okay, so for the next corner, this is our braking point. I don't really use a braking point for high speed corners though. Not a very specific one. It's just I sort of look, I'm like, okay, I feel like I should brake now, and I brake, because high speed corners, they very much change throughout the course of a race. So if you have one solid braking point, you keep to that. You're most likely going to overshoot or undershoot the entry speed. So you should just feel the car. Every lap you should be pushing it further away. Not too far though, because high speed corners you want long and light, as my last video explained. And we want to shift down into fifth. Fourth is a bit too low. I've seen people brake quite a lot for this and then try and make it up for it on the exit, but you have such a short straight anyway, so it's just worth taking it a bit higher speed in fifth, shift down, and you sort of aim for this curb right here. You'll see it. You need to get your wheels on the Astro. See, right here. And once we're sort of midway through the corner, we get back on the power. And track limits here. We don't really want to touch the gravel, because otherwise you'll lock up for the next corner, which is I've done it quite a few times, to be honest. So we can afford to have one wheel on the gravel. Usually it's the rear wheel, because obviously slip angle exists, which is pretty low in this car, but it does exist. So it's usually going to be a back wheel that dips onto the gravel. That's totally fine, but you just don't want to go 2 wheels onto the gravel, because that means you've messed it up. You probably won't get a track limit, but you will mess up the next corner, and you will lose quite a bit of time with this new gravel update. So as you can see, there's a lot of gravel from when people went off, and including me, maybe, I don't know, possibly. And the braking point here may be a bit early, to be honest, for me. We can afford to brake almost at this 50, a lot closer. This is quite early, but we broke lighter here, so it wasn't too bad, but we can definitely brake later. I'd say brake to 80%. Let's just take a look at my telemetry, because this will show us everything. Yeah, so in the 22.75 lap, we broke to 100%. I do not think we should brake to 100% on this corner, because you have to travel off very quickly. It's easy to lock your tyres because of all the gravel. So I'd say brake later, brake to 80%, and then trail or brake slowly, nice and progressively. And for the entry for this corner, actually, I should probably say that we sort of hug the curb the entire way around, and then we spot the exit. Look up, don't look too far close to you. It's quite easy to do in this corner, especially when you're first doing it. Look up, spot your exit, get back on the power. Boom, as soon as I start to see this curb, I get back on the power. Okay, this corner is very interesting. It's a tough one, to be honest, to handle understeer, especially. You'll get a ton of it in this corner. You can even get a bit of snap of oversteer, so it's all about balancing the car and the brakes. So we brake not too hard here. Do not brake to like ridiculous pressure or percentages, because that's what we use in the sun. So we brake nice and light, and we trail really long into this turn here. We take this in 3rd gear, and you can see that I didn't use too much of this curb as well, because when you exit this corner, it's quite hard to like get yourself over, but it doesn't lose you too much time. And then we get on the power pretty early, and one interesting thing with this corner is very counterintuitive to what you might think. On this corner, during the entry, power really helps to rotate the car. So as much as you want to lift off because you're like, oh, I need to slow down a bit for this corner, use the throttle to rotate the car, and you'll see exactly how this works. So we use throttle, we get the car semi-rotated, because this corner is very flat and slippery. So when we use power, it gives us a bit of rotation, and then once we start to the late entry, we lift. If you lift earlier and then get on the power earlier, you'll get a better exit out. If you lift later, you'll have to get on the power later, so then you'll get a worse exit out. And we bring it right out to the exit. You can really use all the exit here. And then we came in for 122.582, which is pretty decent. Let's look on a competitive standpoint before we go ahead. Official. I'm going to be doing the race at 6. But yeah, I wanted to even go through my telemetry before I even hopped on, just to see what I was doing. But okay, so we can see in the competitive standpoint, 122.5, that's really good. That would put you in near the top 3, P4 in this lobby. So you're about on par with like there's a 7k I rate, a 6k here, nearly 7. So it's pretty good. I was 7.6k, was doing a 122.478, which I can clearly do because of the amount of time lost just in the first sector alone, just on one corner. So it's definitely possible. But let's play this lap from start to finish. Okay, so that is a lap of Hockenheim. So now we'll go through a little bit of telemetry. Yeah, that's lap 6. Okay, so let's analyze. Very useful. You should definitely try telemetry. So as we can see, our first corner. So red is the slower lap, the 7.53. Blue is the faster corner, the faster time, the 5.82. So we can see here that we broke harder on the first lap. That was probably due to colder tyres, or maybe because I wasn't exploiting the limits of grip as much. I don't know when I did this 7.53. I don't know when I did it, but I think it was like a few sessions before. So we can see here that we broke harder, which slowed the car down more, as we see by our speed here. And this speed difference opened up a gap. Just follow my mouse for this entire bit. So we follow on my mouse, we can see how much time instantly lost. I mean, we did make up a bit on it on exit, but overall we gained 300, almost 400 for a second, so almost half a tenth, which is good. That's a good gain just from braking a little bit later, a little bit lighter. So I'd recommend, so try that in your telemetry. Okay, so now we're going into turn 2, and we see that we gained time already, sort of went over this, but we broke too early with the blue lap, as we can see here. And this lost us time, because as we can see the speed differential, the speed of my red lap during this braking zone is a lot higher than the blue lap, which is obviously going to lose me time, and we can clearly see it right here, that we lost a lot of time. Almost throughout the corner we lost almost 2/10, but that sort of recovered to about let's see, yeah, so it recovered to about a tenth. So sector 2, we can see that we almost broke at the identical point at both laps, but I did brake a little bit later, and I think that was because I was more spotting where I was going to brake for the hairpins. For hairpins, you definitely use braking points. So we spotted the braking point a bit better, so we broke a bit later, and as you can see by our speed differential, we gain time, and that is reflected right here. We lose almost, a lot of time, actually, a lot of time. It probably spiked right there because I turned and I probably slowed down more, but then, yeah, so I had a lower minimum speed you can see here, but I gained so much more on exit. So maybe turn a bit later here, slow a bit down more mid-corner, give a bit of time, and then get a better exit, and that'll gain you time. So going into this turn, this is turn 1, 2, 3, we'll count this one as a turn, this little flat out one, 4, so turn 5. So turn 5, we can see what we did. So again, on the red lap, we broke later, which gained us time on the braking zone, but then I had a compromised exit for the next corner. So what happened? We overtook that lap because we had a better mid-corner speed throughout turn 6. So we gained time again. So this whole sector is about compromising the first left-hander to benefit the right-hander, because that's a longer corner. You're going to spend more time in that corner, so there's more time to be made on that corner. So that covers sector 2 nicely. Now sector 3, what did we do? So sector 3, we broke less, lighter, and a little bit earlier, and we can see that we gained a lot of time. If we go over here, we got a way better exit. So red came on the power earlier, blue came on the power later, but we still had a better exit because we broke a lot lighter we broke lighter and a bit shorter, which made us get a better minimum speed throughout the corner. As you can see, red gained on exit, a longer lap, but overall we gained time, which is what I was trying to say. We don't want to compromise too much entry speed into this right-hander, because the straight here is so short anyway. So for this corner now, we can see that we broke a lot later in the red lap, and that gained us a lot of time actually. With the red lap, but it would have been a lot faster, which is what I was trying to say again. So we should brake later here, so about 80%, and we'll get a better mid-corner speed throughout the corner, because you're naturally going to carry more speed into the corner. So we should brake later, and a bit and to 80% or 100% depending on conditions. So you can see it's very dynamic. So we lost a lot of time on that corner. Okay, so now coming into the final two corners, let's see what we did. So for the faster lap, we broke a bit later, a bit lighter. We had a bit of a struggle there, a bit of a correction. I think I might have overslowed, so I added pressure. But that's what I was trying to get out in the last video. We can add just a little bit of pressure to correct our entry into the corner. And then we broke a bit longer with a higher pressure of a trail brake. And that seemed to gain us a lot of time. Because we made up on exit. Only a little bit, but we made up on exit. But it was enough to offset the correction there. So for the final corner, what did we do? We can see that our lifts are pretty similar when we look at the throttle. So our lifts are pretty similar, but we got on the power a lot earlier on the blue lap, which gained us time on the exit. So that's how we should analyze telemetry. We can analyze it a lot further than that. We can also analyze steering angle. So we can see on the blue lap we used a lot more steering angle, possibly due to more understeer, but we still gained time. But the steering angle is generally quite similar. On the blue lap, maybe I used a bit more too excessive on the steering angle, but overall we gained time, so it's not too bad. But yeah, I hope this helped. I will link the telemetry in the description. Thank you for watching.